we rode over the pavement and bent the steering rack quite badly, so we couldn't turn left and we lost a lot of time. But fortunately we've been able to fix it, and I think we'll be on full steam again tomorrow morning.
When Parc Fermé opened in Umhlanga Rocks on day 2 of the Stanek Tour Natal, there was plenty of blue sky and sunshine, with every prospect of ideal conditions for rallying. At the front of the field, Jan Habek and Doug Judd held a 20-second lead, but for Group N front-runners Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen, matters were a little tighter.
There's no choice, we just got to go, take it as it comes. We're going to have to go flat out. We've got Skolk only 16 seconds behind us, and the competition's been steep, so with the smooth stages at least today, we can push, and I think we've got a good chance of keeping them behind us.
Crews were headed down the KwaZulu-Natal south coast for special stages in the Park Raini, Umzinto areas, and en route the weather turned nasty. The rain came bucketing down and set the scene for early drama, with rally leaders Jan Habek and Doug Judd the first to suffer. The VW Golf kit car was a recent arrival in South Africa from Germany, and the first special stage of the day was an inopportune time for Habek and Judd to discover that the demisters were not fully functional. With their visibility seriously impaired, the pair dropped 50 seconds on Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, and a 20-second overnight lead had, in the space of one special stage, turned into a 30-second deficit. Once again, the vagaries of rallying had brought a dramatic turnabout, and the Castrol Toyota pair suddenly found themselves in the pound seats. Not that Habek and Judd were the only ones to suffer. The service van carrying the Sasol Motorcraft team's tyres went missing on the open section from Durban to Park Raini, and Paolo Piazzamuzzo and Richard Leek started the first stage of the day on the wrong tyres. That led to an off-road excursion that cost them 10 minutes and dropped them way down the pecking order. The Piazzamuzzo-Leek encounter with KwaZulu-Natal Fauna and Flora lifted Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley into third place in the team total Toyota Conquest, and teammates JP Damso and Pierre Aris started special stage 8 in fourth place.
I think we're going to have to take it a bit easy in the beginning, get used to the chicane because we haven't been here for a year, and then I think this afternoon the pace is going to be quite quick this afternoon.
Those tactics backfired on Damso and Aris when they also went off the road. They dropped 45 seconds to Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz in the Dunair Toyota Conquest, who now found themselves 36 seconds to the good in the Class A6 fight. In treacherous conditions, one special stage had seen changes in the overall lead, and at the top of Class A8 and A6. Then the Tony Ball Marty Olivier Bulwell Park VW Golf blew its gearbox, and Barry Hrobler and Mike Burrows went tootling past in the team total Golf to take the lead in Class A7. One special stage had turned the 41st Stanek Tour Natal upside down. At the Aquifer Service Park, technical crew worked in far from ideal conditions, with first priority for Habek and Judd, that demister problem.
2 Ks in the stage, we went through a massive water splash, and the whole windscreen misted up, and we couldn't see anything for the next 10-12 Ks. So, yeah, I think we better get the act together now. You know, we'll put the demisters on and sort them out quickly, and I'm sure that'll help a lot.
Matters weren't improving either for Paolo Piazzamuzzo and Richard Leek, who were still waiting for their wet weather tyres to arrive.
We were hoping to change the mud tyres for this stage here. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that, and the conditions are so tricky there, we just couldn't keep the car on the road. So we got stuck on an earth bank. We had to dig ourselves out, which is unfortunate. And it's going to be a tough one now again because we're still on the same tyres, so we just have to plod through it.
Special stage 9, and still the drama continued. Now it was reigning Class A6 champions Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz who were in trouble. Having just taken over the lead in Class A6, it was the turn of the Dunair Toyota Conquest to pick up a puncture early on in the 15-kilometre stage. While they tippy-tappy through the mud, it was full steam ahead for the Van der Merwe Vermeulen Nissan Skyline and Group N leaders Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen. Natal pair Chris de Witt and Alec Harris were starting to make progress in Class A6 in another Toyota Conquest, with Skalk Berger and Martin Buerter on the comeback trail. Leading Class N2 overnight, they were also special stage 8 victims when they rolled the Bridgestone Quality Tyres Toyota Corolla, and the pair had a long haul ahead of them to claw their way back into the points. The Berger-Buerter trials and tribulations had turned Class N2 into a straight fight between the Toyota Corollas of Kate pair Diffie Moreira and Donnie Duval, and Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper. Saunders is the son of former works driver Eric Saunders, and after a conservative start was starting to pick up the pace. In his first Class A7 outing, Kees Klein, partnered by Johan Barnard, was also picking up the pace, much to the delight of his private fan club. Doug Kemsley and Jerry Herica were second in Class S20 in the spectacular Automark Toyota Baki, with Rodney Fasaki and Caroline Simmer topping Class N1 in the Team Total Toyota Taz. Conditions were still very tricky, and at the Equifa Service Park there was many a tale of woe.
Well, the morning didn't start off so well. We came around the right end and we clipped the bank and lifted the front wheel and rolled on his roof. Very slow roll, but we lost a lot of time. The car was lying on his roof and we battled to get it back on his wheels.
The Kemsley-Herica Bucky was also showing battle scars, but the crew were enjoying themselves, with Top Car magazine publisher Kemsley still in jovial mood.
It was wetter last year, but it's fast becoming as bad as it was last year, and the pickup, she weighs 1.4 tons, and she's quite a handful. But we're having fun. We're driving to our pace, and we'll be there at the end. That's the main thing, because everybody seems to be taking excursions into the cane.
A battered wheel rim and scraps of attached rubber mirrored Jürgen Fecken's problems.
The first stage this morning we took 30 seconds off JP and we caught him. We were 20 seconds ahead, and on this last stage we had a puncture, so now we're 2 minutes 16 seconds behind him again, so we have to catch him.
With around half a minute separating Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson and the Havoc Judd Factory VW Golf after 11 special stages, the advantage still lay with the Castrol Toyota crew. Any sort of cushion is welcome in conditions where a single mistake can radically alter matters, and the onus was on Havoc and Judd to cut into the Damso-Hodgson lead. That in itself creates pressure, with the ever-present danger that a little off-road excursion means more valuable time lost. There wasn't much pressure where Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley were concerned. The Natal crew in a safe and lonely third place, but behind them, JP Damso and Pierre Aris were rapidly being hauled in by Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukovic. The laid-back Fecken comes from a rally background, and where up-and-coming young drivers are concerned, has emerged in the last couple of seasons as a shining light on the horizon. The steady Barry Hrobler and Mike Burrows had a tight hold on Class A7 honours and were sixth overall behind the slugging match between the two Class A6 Toyotas. Hrobler and Burrows also had a comfortable cushion over Cully van der Merwe and Andre Vermeulen, with the big rear-wheel drive Nissan Skyline a handful in these conditions. Rodney Fasaki and Caroline Simmer still led Class N1 in the Team Total Toyota Taz and could have done with some of the Skyline's power.
You've got to commit yourself. There's no room for error on these things because you've got no power to pull you out of any trouble or anything like that. It's more precision driving basically on these little cars.
There's a big jump between Class N1 and Class A8, and at the other end of the scale, rally leader Serge Damso knew exactly what was expected of him over the closing stages.
It's better to have 22 seconds ahead and 22 seconds behind, so I've just got to try and make sure I keep it on the road and keep going until the end of the rally.
Bridgestone quality tyres pair Skalkberger and Martin Boerter at the start of special stage 14, followed by Sanders and Hooper, who not far into the stage came across teammates Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen, who'd rolled the Team Total Nissan Sentra, and that put Sanders and Hooper into the lead in the Group N category, as well as Class N2. The conservative approach in the early stages was paying dividends for the pair, who just missed out on last year's Class N2 championship. Also going strongly in blasts from the past were Eastern Cape crew Dolph Coetzee and Eddie van der Walt in an aging Toyota Conquest, and local crew Paul Gouveia and Skalk van Heerden, who were now second in Class S20 in a slightly long-in-the-tooth Nissan Sentra Coupe. The Blackman-Klaassen roll took care of the last of the Class N3 runners, with Rodney Fasaki and Caroline Simmer still firmly in the saddle in Class N1, despite a puncture on stage 14. They had a 7-minute cushion over Mike Houghton, brother of off-road champion Robin, and co-driver Bryn Doherty in another Toyota Taz. Fasaki and Simmer looked safe enough, although rallying is always unpredictable. The weather was just as unpredictable, with the rain coming and going, but for new Group N leader Dean Sanders, matters were working out nicely. Thank you very much.
We've been pushed into the lead a bit with Cliffy rolling, but we've played it right, I think, on this rally. We took it easy, we've saved the car, and it's worked out very well for us. Yeah.
Matters were also working out nicely for Cully van der Merwe and Andre Vermeulen, although they'd given up on trying to move further up the leaderboard.
At the moment we're still lying 8th. We've got a lot of problems with the Skyline in the wet. We haven't got the proper wets, so the Group N cars are a lot faster than us, But we're keeping there and just staying on the road, and there's no way we can try to catch Hergen and those type of the Conquest and Class C or the Class A6 cars. But we're just trying to stay there and get it there to the end.
Conditions were improving when the penultimate special stage on the Stanek Tour Natal got underway, and time was running out for overnight leaders and 1997 champions Jan Havik and Douglas Judd. The factory VW Golf crew was still around half a minute adrift of the Castrol Toyota of Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, but as is so often the case in national championship rallying, there was a sting in the tail. Damso and Hodgson were motoring along without a care in the world when the Castrol Toyota pair were given a huge wake-up call. That little escapade cost Damso and Hodgson 16 seconds, with the Damso family right in the thick of high drama. Behind his father, young JP and Pierre Aris dug deep into their reserves to come up with a demon stage time that took them 5 seconds clear of the chasing Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz, with just one special stage remaining. Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows were also 6th overall and leading Class A7, and behind them, Diffie Moreira and Donny Duval were having to hold off a late charge from Skulk Berger and Martin Buerta. Berger and former SA Navigators champion Buerta were now 3rd in Class N2 and had staged a great fight back after their Stage 8 roll. At the front of Class N2, it was now a stroll for Dean Sanders and Graham Hooper, who'd also worked their way into 8th overall in the team total Toyota Corolla. All they now had to do was keep the car on the road. Up at the service point at the end of the stage, Damso and Toyota technical crew were anxiously examining the Castrol Toyota Conquest.
Yeah, it's unfortunately we went through a clearings, and the instruction was like going straight through the clearance. In the meantime, it was sort of a left sweep, and of course we went straight into the sugar tank.
The Toyota technical crew quickly replaced the damaged radiator, but more drama was lurking for Damso Sr. and Hodgson. As far as the younger Damso was concerned, he now had the slightest of cushions over Fecken in the intriguing Class A6 battle.
Before the stage we were dead even, and we managed to take 5 seconds now. So it gives us a 5-second advantage, and I hope we can keep it that way.
The final special stage back at Umschlanger Rocks, and this time the entire field started in reverse order. The big drama before the Umschlanger stage centered around Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson, with the Castrol Toyota Conquest jamming in 6th gear on the long open section between Park Riney and Umschlanger. To safeguard against a penalty for lateness at the Umschlanger control point, the Toyota technical crew were forced to change the gearbox in record time, and a relieved Damso and Hodgson were still 15 seconds to the good over Jan Havik and Doug Judd. But there was no such problems for overall Group N leaders Sanders and Hooper in the team total Toyota Corolla RSI. After a second off-road excursion late in the day, Paolo Piazzamuso and Richard Leake were a disappointing 17th overall in the Sasol Motorcraft Ford Escort, and along with Kali van der Merwe and Andre Vermeulen gave another huge crowd their money's worth. Piazzamuso shared the quickest time on the last stage with Jürgen Fecken, but it was not enough for Fecken and Lukowitz to overhaul JP Damso and Pierre Aris, who were a great 4th overall behind Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. Having overcome potential disaster over the last 2 special stages, all that was left was for Serge Damso and Guy Hodgson to make sure they didn't do anything silly and allow Jan Havik and Doug Judd to nip in via the back door. Always the chargers, Havik and Judd made heavy contact with one of Umschlanger's curbs, but damaged tyre and all still managed to match the time set by Damso and Hodgson, although it was all a little too late. A great event for the Damso family, with overall victory for Serge and Guy Hodgson, and 4th overall in Class A6 honours for young JP and Pierre Aris. Class A7 went to Barry Krobler and Mike Burrows, with Dean Sanders and Graham Hooper winning Group N and Class N2. Class N1 went to Rodney Fasaki and Caroline Simmer, with Toyota winning the Manufacturers Award.
It wasn't an easy rally for us. Yanni gave us a good job, and this morning he started ahead of us and he lost a bit of time, and the whole day we've been really trying hard against each other. But at the end of the day, we made a bit of mistakes towards the end too. We had a radiator change, and then we had a problem with the gearbox, so we had to change the gearbox. So I'm glad it's all over.
A proud moment for Group N winners Dean Sanders and Graham Hooper, and the pair celebrated in style.
It's amazing, I tell you. We didn't expect it yesterday, but now we through and we've put the points on the board and we're off to a great start.